Hi, aligned souls. Welcome to the Soul Revival podcast, where we have meaningful conversations to help you explore tools and healing methods that help you return to your soul self. Join us as we help you merge the ethereal and the material worlds, allowing you to live your most fulfilling and aligned life. I'm Lindsay Stanton, author, somatic practitioner, intuitive Reiki master, and grief coach.
Hello, I am Autumn, a believer in miracles, intuitive guide, and psychic medium. We're your hosts and guides. We don't just talk healing, we live it. This is where soul meets strategy, spirit meets structure, and our highest selves take the mic.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Soul Revival podcast. Autumn and I are super excited to welcome our guest, Liz, today to the show. Welcome, Liz.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you so much for having me. And you too, Autumn. So great to meet both of you and see both of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we love to start every episode with the same question. So if you don't mind, if you can answer for us, what connects you the most to your soul self?
To my soul self. Honestly, this might be a slightly atypical answer, but I think it has a lot to do with physics. Like all the evidence seems to connect that there is like a soul and like higher like being rather than just neurons of a brain. So I feel like when I read about that, I feel and think about that and read the data on that, have medium readings, all that makes me feel really like it connected and kind of gets that part of my brain that's like none of this could be true. It kind of quiets it.
Quiet your mind and let your soul feel in alignment. I love that. That's very
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to start off with a question. If you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience, your journey on grief and then connection as well. You'll want to stay tuned throughout the entire podcast for a special announcement all about angel signs.
Sure. So my dad passed in 2015 and I'm an only child. I'm, you know, so close with my parents and I was just beside myself, devastated. Like I didn't really know what to do. My upbringing is culturally Jewish, but atheist, like secular Jew, never in a culture that really ever thought about anything like afterlife. And so I was just like, I just thought that was it. And I just kind of couldn't really process that. So I decided to investigate, could there be any possible evidence that my dad's still with me? And the further I dug, I'd say nothing else helped my grief more than that. Like feeling like there was, both a combination of feeling like I actually would see him again and that he's actually still continuing, kind of combined with, I guess, just the curiosity and fascination. And I just can't think of anything better than the thought that everyone I know, including myself, would get to continue in some way, something I just never, ever thought possible. So all that kind of saved me in my grave.
I think that's such a good point, and it's so transformative, and all the data shows that too, that it's the number one thing that makes the biggest difference, especially with complex or overwhelming grief. I think that it is like the one
Yeah.
thing for me too, Liz, that just created a complete shift. Did you have signs from your dad early on?
Um, not very early, but within year one, I'd say I started to get my first signs. I mean, I think not very early, only because I didn't even know about the existence of signs. So
So maybe you're
around when,
not recognizing it.
yeah, I could have been getting them like every day for years, first from my grandparents and then my dad, and just I had absolutely no idea. So it was interesting. As I started learning about them, I started getting them and being skeptical. Like they were strong signs that, I'm happy to share any of them if you guys want. So
I would love to hear about some of the signs that you received.
sure. Well, I'll share the first one and then I'll share the best one, which was years later. So the first one, it was in year one. Well, actually, there were two first ones, and the one of them tied in with the best one that happened years later. So the one that did not tie in was amazing. I grew up in New York City, and I still live there. And I don't know how familiar everyone is with the boat pond in Central Park. And I was just like walking through Central Park and passing it. And I'll also say, as a New Yorker, like I'm a fast walker. That is just how I'm comfortable in my body. It doesn't matter if I have to be somewhere or not. No matter what's going on in my life, like I don't stroll. So I'm walking, like power walking. For some reason, I kind of go into this very meditative state, and I start kind of strolling along. And I focus kind of, like sometimes you'll be in a meditation just randomly or very daydreaming, maybe on a vacation. You just sort of stare at something and focus on it, but like with no significance to it. There was this boat, like a toy or model boat, I should say, in the boat pond. And that is so rare that you see them there just once in a while. There was just one. And it was kind of parked at the end of the pond, and the opposite end I was at as I was walking along. For some reason, I just sort of deeply like went to this sort of almost meditative state, staring at the boat and walking along. And I just sort of dreamily walked up to it and looked at it, and it had my dad's name written on it. And I was like, what the fuck? Oh my God. So
That is,
it was,
I love when signs come together, and because I feel like the more signs you get, the more consciously aware you become. Um,
mhm,
I know you have another sign, but do you
yes.
meditate regularly? Like, was that something
Um,
you practice or after
I
grieving?
was around then, like when I was learning about this, and then I go in phases, and not even typical meditations. I do ones that like try to feel energies, and I'm really working on trying to go out of body. And so I do meditations tied around that I learned at a place called the IAC, International Academy of Consciousness, where you feel like energy waves going up and down your body and trying to push them out of your body. And when I do that, things really change. So
Interesting. That's interesting.
yeah.
Okay, I'm eager to hear about the second sign, the second story.
Okay, so the second one, I was just walking down the street. I'd been just learning about the existence of science for the first time. And one I'd read was a feather. And I was just like, I don't know. Science seemed like nonsense to me. It seemed a bit like you can just call anything a sign, or like, I think it's called like the Boehner Meinhof. I forget the exact name, but like the frequency illusion, where, you hear a new word that you've never known or something. It's something you hear it everywhere, but you're just paying attention to it. So I was like, that's just what signs are. And so I'm walking along. My dad had a favorite color. Like it might or might not be the real color. I always kind of disguise some things and not others because I still get evidential readings from mediums. So I was like, let's call it like green, because I'm wearing green now. So um, I'm walking along and I see like a green feather on the street. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. I'm just reading feathers are signs. This is his color. A medium had even told me to look out for this color. So I pick it up. I'm like, I'll consider it. And that was in year one. Now, fast forward, I think it was 2017. It was a little bit later. And um I have this is part two of like a four-part story. So I have a reading with, do you guys know the medium Gina Simone? She's certified by Forever Family Foundation.
Yes.
Okay, I have a reading with her. In the end, she's like, do you have any questions for me? And I'm like, evidence person. So I'm like, yeah, what signs did my dad give me? And she was like, I don't love to say that because you'll be attached to this one sign and you might miss others. Let's say it was like a green feather. I was like, Gina, it was a green feather. And she's like, oh my God, there you go. There's your proof. I'm like, no. That's like a bit of evidence. I'm like such a hard one with like the science stuff. Fast forward like the next year. And I'm doing the social media for Forever Family Foundation. And we're at one of the retreats. And I'm making little videos to post. Like, I think at that time it was like IGTV, Instagram TV, like right before Reels. And I end up like, it's such a busy weekend. I end up missing getting one of Gina, who ends up leaving early. And so I go up to one of the co-founders at that time, Fran Ginsburg. She has since passed away, but she was still she was still there. And told her, I was like, I feel so bad. I miss Gina. And she was just like, I was like, she's the only one I got no videos of. She's just like, well, email her and just do it virtually. So I email her, and I'm the kind of person, like, once there's a solution to something, like, I don't think about it again. For some reason, I could not stop thinking about it. Like, that whole last day, I'm taking the train back into the city from Connecticut to New York City. And all I could think of, like, when a song's stuck in your head, I feel so bad. I miss Gina. She worked so hard. That was so amazing when she got the green feathers. I get like home, like my family home, which is in Manhattan, and my place is in Brooklyn. But I decided to sleep there that night because my mom was babysitting my dog and cat. And I'm like, it's late. Like, I don't want to, like, go back to Brooklyn night. Sleep there. Wake up the next morning, like, early for work, like, taking my dog and cat back to Brooklyn. And for some reason, all I could think of, like, stuck in my head. I felt so bad that I missed getting, Miss Gina. That was so amazing when she got the green feathers. Like, I'm on the subway back to my place. Closer I'm getting, the thoughts in my head, like, more intensely, where I could think of nothing else, but it's shortened. It's just one line. That was so amazing when Gina got the green feathers. Walking up my stairs, like, almost hearing it in my ears and obsessively in my head, like, the most the song's ever been stuck in my head. It was like, green feathers, green feathers. I'm like, what is wrong with my brain? Why am I so obsessed with this? I, like, go into my room, sit on my bed, get ready to, like, work. And it's like wouldn't stop. It was like all I could think of. And I look over and there's a pile of green feathers sitting in my room. And I was like, oh my God. So
Oh,
I take a photo and I emailed to Fran. I'm like, this just happened. I need you to tell me if you see anything in this photo. So I was like, am I hallucinating? She's like, yes, I see them. This is amazing. Then, like, I go home to my mom later, like, holding them. I'm like, is there something in my hand or not? So, and like, I had like two roommates at that time, but like, they didn't, we got along, but we weren't friends. They didn't really even know I'd lost my dad. They didn't know anything about signs. And so it wasn't like they could plant it in my room or anything. So it was kind of amazing.
oh, I have full body chills with that story. Oh, that's such a
Yeah.
beautiful story, Liz.
Thank you. Yeah, it was crazy.
I think your dad had you repeating that in your mind so that when you got home and saw that, there was no way that you could. Yeah, exactly. It was like that big blow up moment where you could
Yeah.
really start feeling his energy, and that's just so magical. It made me tear up. It's an emotional
Uh,
story because it's just a miracle in itself. I mean, to end up with all those green feathers and to have that medium say that to you as well. I
yeah.
did you have more to the story, or was that?
There's a tiny bit more. I mean, that's kind of the big thing, but one little thing was, I counted the amount. I'm like, oh, it's one, because I'm so like difficult to give signs to. I'm so annoying. I like, everyone's gonna just rip me a new one when I cross to the other side. They're gonna be like, yeah, we worked so hard and you were such a pain in the ass. And so, like, instead of being like, this sign's amazing, I mean, I was, but I was also like, I'm still questioning. So it's one short of my lucky number. What if I found one more, and like 2 weeks later, sitting in my living room, I found another? So yeah.
My goodness, that is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned you do social media for Forever Family Foundation.
Yes.
Is that how you're involved with them, or is there anything else that you do with the foundation as well?
I do social media. I attend the events. I'll sometimes attend as a guest slash volunteer, and sometimes just a volunteer. So, and like Fran and Bob Ginsburg are like parents to me. So I'm very close with them.
How did you find Forever Family, Liz?
Oof, it feels like I was like pushed to it. So I
Same,
was
same.
doing, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. It just like, it's such kind of a cool story. So I was in, like, deepest grief. I'm reading all the scientific evidence, everything. I had heard about them. I mean, I was trying to meet everybody in this world. So, somebody I once, like, I don't know if you know Lloyd Arbach. He's like,
Yes.
I think, president for Forever Family Foundation. He
Yeah.
has the Rhine Education Center. I was taking classes with him, and I was like, oh, I want to meet like a ghost hunter and get my apartment tested, because I was investigating everything. I was like, lights have been flashing, and so he sets me up with this investigator, Dan Sturges. We ended up not doing the investigation for, like, I just don't think anything amazing enough to be worth his time was happening. But we meet, and he was like, you should check out the Forever Family Foundation. I was like, okay. At that point, I was like more obsessed with like the Society for Cyclical Research. Then I go to Laura Lynn Jackson, one of her events. And I sent her just like this ridiculous email after like I harassed her with like 800 questions about like string theory during her whole presentation. I'm like, you either have CIA connections or there's something to this. So, I was like, I want to volunteer. Do you know anything like Windbridge, but in New York or LA? And she was like, try Forever Family Foundation. So then, like, I have a reading with Doreen Malloy, another medium. She doesn't specifically mention them, but she mentions, I've been considering going to their retreat. She's like, I feel like you're going on some crazy exotic vacation and questioning whether to go. And then she's like, oh, this is so weird. Are you looking for a mentor in this world? I feel like you're going to get one really important mentor and everything's going to change. And so I ended up reaching out to Forever Family after Laura suggested that, ended up volunteering for them. And Fran became like my mom, like my mentor. And Bob's become like a mentor now too. But in the beginning, it was like Fran and I were like so connected. And that's the story, I reached out to volunteer because I needed to see what's going on with all this. And
we have an exciting opportunity to share with you.
Did you know each week inside the Soul Revival community, we have a giveaway? One lovely soul is gifted something sacred, a Reiki session, an intuitive reading, a powerful course, or even access into the community itself. This isn't just a giveaway. It's a soul blessing, a moment where healing meets divine timing. You'll feel the shift, you'll see the signs, and you'll know you're not alone anymore. Say yes to your intuition, your healing, your next chapter. Enter now at the link below in the show notes labeled Soul Revival Giveaway for your chance to win.
Let's get back to today's episode.
I
was definitely guided to Forever Family as well. It was so crazy because the Netflix series had just come out right after Roger passed. I mean, within a couple months of Roger passing, and I wasn't watching anything on TV. I mean, I was a zombie, and I, for whatever reason, like turned on the TV, and that had just come out, and I was so drawn to the first few episodes. And I mean, I've always been interested in near-death experiences. Like, since I was a kid, I used to research near-death experiences. I've read like every book there is to read on near-death experiences. And so, of course, though, that episode at the beginning was super interesting to me, but I was like totally drawn to Forever Family. Of all the things they cover in the different episodes, I was like, there's something here. This is the takeaway. Like, this is what I'm supposed to find out about. And so I signed up, I joined the membership, and then I like stalked to make sure, because I knew with that series coming out and it being like a top 10 on Netflix that it was going to fill up like that. And of course it did, but I got into the retreat as soon as I like signed up, which was transformational for me on my journey.
Amazing. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad that it made such a difference, Yeah.
There's
It
such a
changed my
gift.
life.
Yeah, exactly. And I,
Yeah.
every time I've gone to an event, I've witnessed the shift in everybody around me. And I, we talked about it with Joe Peretta as well. Like, you can feel in the people that you're brought to and brought into the rooms with that you're also supposed to be with them. They're supposed to be there exactly at that time. Like, it fully connects to the community that you need in your grief journey. And I think having community and not feeling alone is such a critical part of, especially early days in your healing.
Yeah, I agree completely. And people who get it, because
Yes.
so many of the people that have been in your life are just, they have no idea what to do. And they say horrible things and stupid things,
Totally.
and you lose friends. You make new friends that
Yes.
surprise you.
Yes. Yes. And people step up that surprise you.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and actually, sometimes the people you would think would understand it the most are the ones that ghost you the worst, which is just like crazy to me. But
Hmm.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
your whole group can definitely shift totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine shifted a lot. So,
Mine did too. Mine did too.
yeah.
And I'm actually now looking back, as disturbing as it was during that time to feel like that much more alone. I'm so thankful because the people that I'm, with now, the people that are in my circle now are just, they're amazing and they were totally divinely led to me, Autumn being one of them. So, yes, I'm
Aw.
so grateful.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Oh.
I mean it. Um, how did, so kind of going that direction in regards to healing and community, how did you find Forever Family helpful on your healing journey? I mean, obviously you developed this friendship with Fran. Were there other elements of it that really shifted your grief?
Big time. I would say the first event I went to, like I'd originally bought a ticket to be a guest, and then I end up also volunteering because after I bought the ticket is when I started volunteering. So yeah, as well, along with my like emotional and like evidence-based learning the science relationship, mentor relationship with Fran and Bob. It was initially the first one I went to, and I'd say this evolved. Like eventually it turned into friendships because I became friends with a lot of the people, like, the medium, some of the guests. But I'd say the very first one, like as I was saying, I'm so skeptical. So I was still so questioning a mediumship. And the weekend I spent of the first retreat hanging out with all the mediums, it was just like when you start to know them as people, I was just like, they're not con artists. They're just not. And they're not insane. And I'm watching them get evidence based information after evidence based information for everybody. And so once you eliminate fraud, like what's left? And that just absolutely transformed me. Once you eliminate fraud and like insanity, and so it was like, they were like everyone else I know. I mean, some quirky in certain ways, but not like that weird medium way that would be a stereotype. And I mean, that just transformed me. And then I had a really weird personal experience there myself, and that transformed me, like all of that combined.
I love it. Yeah, I feel like ultimately I feel you leave an event like Forever Family with your heart just wide open because I don't know about you, but for me, and it's still the same way, even though I get intuitive messages from my clients and a lot of my friend group like you now as mediums, which I think is so funny. If you'd asked me that 4 years ago, I would have laughed. But the fact of the matter is like it cracks your heart wide open because I love listening to other people get readings. To me, it's like just as moving and emotional for me to hear other people get readings and connect with their loved ones and watch them on their healing journey as it is to get that connection and validation directly myself or through a medium.
I agree completely. Yeah. And then I also like, well, I was doing this a lot more in the beginning. Now I just appreciate it, but I still am like, whoa, with some of the that it's like watching people defy the laws of physics as we've understood it to be. And that just blows me away. And in the beginning, I would sit and score myself against every reading. And I was like, there's no way these readings can be mine. They're so specific. And, so I was like, let me score it the same way I score my own readings. And
Are you seeing repeating numbers, feathers, or hearing songs at just the right time? Those signs aren't random. They're messages from your angels. Join the Soul Revival August 7th at 7 p.m. Central Time for a powerful live course. Angel Signs. We'll teach you how to receive, decode, and trust in divine guidance. You'll learn how to spot signs from your angels, understand their meanings, and strengthen your connection to the other side. This isn't just a class. It's an activation. And trust me, your angels are already nudging you to say yes. Reserve your spot now. You don't want to miss this. Link below.
Did you know that amazing programs like this are free for members of the Soul Revival community? Jump over to the link below and join us today.
so, and that,
It's such a
yeah.
different vantage point, and your perspective is very different than our typical guesting conversation. So I appreciate the diligence that you've had in this. Now that obviously you've seen more than enough evidence to prove the afterlife, how do you feel about just kind of the rules that we create with things, not just in science, but just as a society? I feel like we limit ourselves so much in the 3D because of our lack of perceptual awareness of the 5D. How has that shifted your perspective just with all the research that you've done?
Well, I guess I can't say I consider it proof. I would say there's a preponderance of evidence where I consider an afterlife like highly probable and the most reasonable conclusion, but I still can't say there's proof. Like I will be over the moon, like if I will ever get to the point where I'm like, this is proof. But I mean, preponderance of evidence is so much more than I ever thought there would be. And that brings me joy, first of all. And now in terms of like society, I think I'm answering the question right. And when I say this, I think like, first of all, we shouldn't have limits. Like science and our understanding of the world is a methodology. And I would say the way science is now, we know more than we ever have. But to say we have all the facts of the biggest, you know, questions in the world is just, I mean, that is so arrogant. We're probably still, even though time, like we have such a weird view of time, like 100 years is like really long to us. 1,000 is even unthinkable, but that's barely like a drop in the ocean. And it's like, even try to picture that in terms of eternity, that's just unthinkable. We don't even have a concept of eternity. So let's not say we know things, and let's just stick with and like sort of be very humbled before the methodology of science, and just know that like everything we think is so factual and so cutting edge now is going to be archaic at some point, and we're going to just, everything we think we know will probably evolve and change. And I think be humble before that. We already don't, like, the things we call fact are so confusing already, like quantum entanglement, or we look at planets really far away, we're looking back like thousands of years in time, and it's just like none of that makes sense. So I think have a lot more humbleness, have a lot more open-mindedness. Don't say we know, and just be curious. And
Yeah,
I think,
I was going to say, going back to what you said at the very beginning of the episode, coming at it with heart-led curiosity.
yes, yeah, very much.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about, I know you're running a really cool, I don't know if you call it experiment, but on Instagram, I've seen your post about the science and spirituality salon. Can you talk to us
Oh
about
yeah.
the salon and what that is and how you're running it? Because I think it's very cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I have like something, as you said, 4 years ago, you couldn't imagine doing this. I still am like, how am I doing this? Like, I thought this stuff was the biggest, like, ridiculous nonsense until I delved in. I would have like laughed at someone. I mean, I would have been respectful, because I think people have like interest. I think no matter what you're doing, it's kind of interesting. We have our unique path, but I also would have been like, that's like such crap. So I have a brand, WTF Just Happened, and it's a podcast and books and science and spirituality salons. And those are like small events where people, there either can be on Zoom, where we for 5 people, or in person for 10 people, and I give a talk on the scientific evidence of an afterlife, and a medium gives everyone a reading. Usually I primarily do them with Joe Peretta, who I know has been a guest here too.
Love Joe.
And yeah, and we're looking at maybe doing larger ones too, where you'd still get a chance to ask questions, but everyone wouldn't get read if they're larger. Like as of now, we have it at 5 virtual, 10 in person, because so everyone can get read. But we might offer other options to be, with larger groups too. And they're just really fun. I can always tailor the talk if someone's like, no, I want more about physics. I want more about reincarnation. And then, yeah, they can ask both of us questions. And Joe and I tell some ridiculous stories from when we first met about like our opinions of each other, and like he like did not like me at all. So
Oh my gosh, I love that. I bet those are
yeah,
great.
yeah. So, you kind of hear, and you hear about some like experiments he's participated in, and it's fun. Yeah. And they get really emotional too. Joe's so good. So
Yeah, he really is. He really is.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Lindsay, you have a podcast about this as well?
I do. It's called WTF Just Happened, all about the afterlife, no woo. So it's, I really try to get the people who transformed my worldview on, and I ask them, some of the questions I really want to know now, and then some of the questions that I would have asked in year one. So, we get a lot of new people in early grief, and I kind of combine those two questions, and I try to make it very, like, as I said, no woo, like really grounded, really, like, if you're in grief and you think this is really hard to believe, like, here's like some facts. Here's like hopefully a really relatable, non-flowery way to get some hope, and
I love
what
that.
I needed early.
Yeah, because for a certain subset of people, I think each one of us has like a code and a way of talking about things that attracts people that are meant to, learn from us or be, allow us to be guides as we've been through this journey ourselves and our healing. And I think, you speak to a group of people that obviously certainly need to hear it. And you act as a bridge to help people accept something that they might be resistant to. So I think it's really, really important. And I would definitely encourage everybody to check out your work. Where can people find you besides the podcast? Where's the best way to reach you?
So I have my website. You can link to like the books, podcasts, all of that there. I mean, the book, they're all available everywhere, but you can find link to all the like Amazon-y places there. WTFJustHappened.net, and you can get my email there. I'm really active on Instagram. You can link to it on my website, or it's just WTF_just_happened_. So.
Excellent. And we'll link all that in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Any last minute things that you want to share with our audience? Or Autumn, do you have any last minute questions that you want to ask Liz?
No, I really enjoyed Liz's perspective. I feel like she's a whole light for a whole lot of people, to exactly what you said, bridge people to the 5D from the 3D or whatever it may be. I'm really, really excited for your work, Liz, and I'm excited for people to hear this podcast as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess if there's one final thing I could share, and this was a game changer, at least for my mindset and ability to digest. I had assumed that like consciousness created by a brain was a fact understood by science, and neuroscience has not even an iota of an explanation for how that would work, and it's just an assumption. It's as much an assumption as it is that like maybe some spiritual people who don't examine it from the evidence think it's not created by a brain. So once I thought that, and I was like, it is just as astronomical then. When you think of your brain neurons, mass, matter, cells, somehow a firing of them creates not just consciousness. Like if all we were here to do was like survive and reproduce, maybe, but like when we bring in like love and intellect and philosophy and, passions about things and curiosity, it's like it is just so weird. And it makes, when people are like, there's no way consciousness could be created outside of a brain and download and continue after we die. I'm like, yeah, there's no way. And there's no way it could be created by a brain. Like there is no way consciousness can exist that makes any sense to us. So once I thought that, and I put all the evidence together, I'm like, the much more logical conclusion is that it's non-local, non-physical, like not created by a brain, stored somewhere, and which means it can continue after we die. And that was just an emotional game changer for me.
I love that. Well, thanks, Liz, for coming on the Soul Revival podcast. It was such a pleasure to be in your energy, and I'm very grateful I got to meet you today.
Yes, such a great episode. Thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate your having me on, and I so appreciate all you're doing for Forever Family. And I'm sure Fran more than appreciates that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
My heart. Thank you.
If today's words stirred something in you, that's no coincidence. Your soul is speaking, and it's ready to be heard. If you resonated with today's episode, Spirit is cheering you on, encouraging you. Start choosing yourself again. Start saying yes to your healing and join our sacred community over at www.thesoulrevival.com.
Because healing is better when we do it together. If you love this episode, be sure to hit follow, leave a review, and share this with someone who's ready to return to their soul self. Thank you, Aligned Souls.